Good morning, everybody. It is December the 7th, and I thought we needed a screencast today just to kind of clarify some of the things about what you were supposed to get done over these last paired passages that we did last week, because we didn't do every single activity like we usually do, or we didn't do every single question. I shortened some of the assignments, and I know we have a lot of people in quarantine, might have more this week. So I just wanted to make sure that all my remote learners and people in quarantine knew exactly what to do. So I did change today's lesson, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It was going to be a test, but I'd already told you we weren't taking it today, but I was going to move it forward, but we're not going to take that test for various reasons. It's not a big deal. So last week we were working on the seventh man and Carrie. So I just wanted to go through that entire thing and let you know what you were supposed to do and what you didn't have to do, okay? Because it has changed a little bit in the course of the week. So we did the get ready and we discussed it together, and you were supposed to come back and talk about what these three things could have represented in the story. And you were supposed to do this critical vocabulary at the bottom, okay? So look at your pages right now. I forgot to tell you, open Ed and look at your pages. So if you need to pause and get that open, do that. Look to make sure that you have this chart filled out and that you've done the critical vocabulary at the bottom. There's 8 words and there's 2 pages of that, okay? So that's the get ready for the seventh man. And then we read the seventh man. Some classes we read it all the way through together, but every class we read it through. We read part of it together at least. I believe I had you do. Didn't I have you do 4 questions on the read for seventh man? Okay. So as long as you have 4 of these questions done, and I believe we did the first one together. So there were 10 altogether. So I told you only had to do 4. So make sure you have that done so you will get a grade on that. Of course, you did the check your understanding. Now we're still on seventh man, so you did your check your understanding. And on the analyze the text, you could choose any 3. So if you go back and look at Google Classroom, I do have these instructions every day for what you're supposed to do, but I just wanted to clarify. So you only have to do 3 of these. If you did 5, some of my remote learners may have done them all. Go ahead. I mean, you don't have to go back and erase it, but and then I did have you do these 8 vocabulary questions. They're pretty simple, okay? You did not have to do this page, so that's all for the seventh man. If you need to review that, rewind it instead of going back over it. If you need to see it again, rewind. All right, then we did the get ready for the poem Carrie. And you were also supposed to come back and fill in this chart. I gave you time in class to do that, and we marked it up together in Cami. So those of you that were at home, you didn't get that Cami markup part, so you can just do this in lieu of that. So metaphors and similes, descriptive details of personification, and we talked about the title. So if you weren't here, we did the title part together. We talked about free verse and so on. And then for the read, you do not have to do the read questions, okay? We just read it together. I answered this actually on the app last night, just sitting at home, because I was wanting to see how the app was going. And they have got it where you can download things on the app for later on when you don't have internet. But I was just thinking, how many of us actually have space on our phones to download a big file? So that's something to think about, and I'll show you that later at some point. You do have to do the check your understanding. You don't have to do the read questions for Carrie, but you have to do the check your understanding. You do not have to do the analyze the text questions. Might be a good thing to look at. We're going to discuss the themes later on tomorrow. But today, you're going to do this research bit, okay? So this is your assignment for today, and I have it in Google Classroom. Well, I don't think I've actually assigned it yet, but I have it in Google Classroom. It will be there. And here's your instructions in the agenda. So complete the research section of the Analyze the Text activity for Carrie. Find 3 photos of surprising occurrences from nature, from the internet, and complete the activity and write a poem This will be a test grade and take the place of the selection test over the paired selections. So let's just look. You're going to follow the instructions that are here on this page. Is everybody with me on this page? Okay. So this is already assigned to you because it's the analyze the text for Carrie, but I'm just going to tell you, you don't have to do these. If you do these, then you weren't listening or following directions, so you'll just have done it, and it's okay to have done it. It can only help you. But anyway, you do not have to do these. So let's look at the research part. In this poem, Hogan describes a bizarre natural image, that being the fish being pulled in with the dead hawk attached to it that had drowned trying to catch the fish. Sometimes strange things happen in nature, and photographs of unusual occurrences get spread around social media. Of course, it is important to study the picture for signs that it may not actually represent reality. Photo editing programs enable people to alter images drastically. So I just want you to use your common sense on this, and I'm not going to fail you if I look at your picture and say, I don't think that's real, unless it's just obviously, like blatantly fake. So how do you find credibility? How do you test the credibility of a photo that you find online? Is it on a reputable website, or can anyone just post it? Is it just on some sort of blog or Instagram or somewhere where anybody can post anything they want to? Is it credited to a photographer or a photo agency, or is it just you don't know who took it? Does the photo appear to be altered digitally? And y'all probably know more about this than I do, but I know there's ways to look to see if something's photoshopped. Like if if somebody's face is on a different body, a lot of times it'll be a different color, or it won't quite fit, or you look around the edges and it looks, you can tell it's kind of like jagged or something. So look for differences in focus and color, as well as awkward angles, to see if something's been photoshopped. So what are you going to do with that? Why are we talking about checking for Photoshop? Well, you're going to go online and find photographs of surprising occurrences in nature. For instance, you might think about unusual animal encounters or the strange effects of severe weather. You can record your findings in a chart like this one. I was thinking of this movie about I think it was 2000, the big tsunami. When did that happen? I want to say 2006. In Indonesia and that part of the world. There's a movie called The Impossible that's on Netflix right now. That's really good. But at the beginning, this big tsunami hits, and it's like the scene where the big wave. It reminds me of The Seventh Man, but I'm sure it's a bigger wave than The Seventh Man. But the picture of that huge, several story buildings tall wave coming towards them was like one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in a movie. So if there was a picture on the internet of a tsunami coming, I don't know if anybody's got a picture of it. There's pictures of the devastation caused by a tsunami, which kind of count as a natural occurrence. I was talking to some of my classes on Friday about how I've seen pictures of, like, in Florida, they have a problem with pythons that have been released, pet pythons. And so they have these pythons out in the swamps that aren't supposed to be there. And I've seen pictures of where they've swallowed an alligator. I remember a picture of one that swallowed an alligator, and then the alligator clawed its way out and busted the snake open. And I really didn't think that picture was real the first time I saw it. I don't know if it is or not, but I think it might be. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for. It doesn't have to be, like earth-shattering, but just something in nature, like a geyser would even count, or a picture of the northern lights, something that's like surprising and kind of awe-inspiring in nature. Okay, I'm not going to be real picky about what you choose. This is for you. So all you have to do to document it is just copy and paste the URL right here of where that picture is. So if I copied this URL and entered it into my bar up here and went to it, I would find the picture. And then a brief description of the image. And what is it that makes the picture unusual or awe-inspiring or magnificent, or whatever it is that you think about it. All right, now, this is the next part of it. It says to share it with someone, but you don't have to do that part. you're going to write a poem about one of the images. So you're going to choose the one you want to write a poem about, and here's your instructions for that. Write um, write a free verse poem about the photograph that you researched. Write a description of the image. Assuming that your reader will not have access to the photograph, use sensory details in your description. Read through your description and decide how you would like to structure lines of poetry to communicate your ideas. So this is the pre-writing. Just write on a piece of paper a description of the image. What is it? What does it look like? Okay, so just in regular everyday language. It doesn't even have to be, grammatically correct, or I'm not going to check that. Then you're going to write a poem about it that does need to be grammatically correct, but I want you to model it from the poem Carrie. And remember how she used different line structures and different punctuation to make it sound the way she wanted it to sound. So I want you to think about that. I'm not going to give you a particular line length on your poem, although it would be really hard to write a poem. Remember, Carrie was 32 lines. It doesn't have to be 32 lines long, but I mean, I would say it couldn't be any shorter than 10 lines to even describe what you're seeing. So again, the discuss with a small group, you're just going to turn in your poem to me, and I'll put a link in Google Classroom, or I will put the page in Google Classroom like I did last time. So you click on the assignment and the page is already there, and then you type your poem onto that page. So look for that in Google Classroom. That's how I want it turned in. You'll have a blank Google Doc that says nature poem, and that's where you'll write it, and so it'll already be attached to that assignment. All right, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to stop right there. If you have any further questions, you can ask me in class today, or obviously if you're quarantined or remote, then you can email me. So guys, stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, sanitize your hands, but most importantly, keep your elderly relatives safe. Think about your grandma and your grandpa and your elderly aunts and uncles and your teachers. And so let's get through the rest of this thing together. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow.